So we're delving into week 3. We've got a couple of big matchups this week. The main one that kind of jumps off of the page for everyone in the UK is going to be what's called the Battle of Britain. We've got Liverpool hosting Rangers at Anfield. Liverpool obviously off the back of a sneaky but well-fought win against Ajax in the last round, winning 2-1, getting back on track. Rangers suffering a bit with European, I want to say, hangover from their previous run in Europe, but they are really struggling. They're coming up against it. They've obviously drew, some not some great results, but then again, they've been doing okay in the league in Scotland. Liverpool have been hit and miss. They're under a lot of pressure. Only a 3-3 draw against Brighton at the weekend didn't go too well. They seem to be slipping further away from the title challenge in the Premier League. So maybe do they focus now on Europe? Do they kind of aim for this as the one trophy they want to win? I don't know. Is it too early to worry about that? Probably. As I say, it's a big win. It's a big game for them. It's a double header. It's the first of 2. So the Champions League in the groups, they're quite clever. So they give 2 teams. They're basically, you play home and away, and they tend to pick the bigger games of the group. So basically, it's Liverpool at home to Rangers this week, and then next week it's Rangers at home in the return leg. So it's a real chance to stamp a claim. If Liverpool get 2 wins this time round, could easily make them quite heavy favourites to go through. But you can never tell. The last time these 2 teams met, it's been a while, but it was a close fought game, but I think Liverpool came out on top. So this is a big game for both Liverpool and Rangers, and for the Champions League with the Battle of Britain. There's going to be loads and loads of headlines. Everyone's going to be all over it. So this will be the one that will probably take top billing on most people's calendars for watching this evening at 9 o'clock in the UK. One of the other, moving on to the other games, we got Bayern Munich, who are flying high in their group. They've got, they beat Barcelona. They've managed to kind of just ominously just plow through this, and you can imagine they're going to go storming over Pilsen, who were hoping they'd get something out of their game against Inter, but they couldn't. So now it's like, they are really struggling. They're going to be probably, there's always one team in a group which ends up being the whipping boys, and unfortunately for them, the group they're in, it's Pilsen's time to get a bit of a beating from Bayern, who are not missing Robert Lewandowski in any way, shape or form. Maybe they're almost proving a point that, yes, he's gone and he was their main goal scorer for so long, but he's not there now. And so they can move on, and they are moving on quite happily. Thank you very much. Next up, we got Marseille v Sporting. Sporting are kind of hit and miss, but Marseille are really struggling as well. So it's going to be an interesting one. Sporting away, it's never going to be easy for a team that, Marseille are doing okay. They're in France. They're doing not too bad, but they need to kind of get going in the Champions League. They're not too great. They lost at home to Frankfurt, which was a bit of a shock. I don't think anybody expected that. The away loss to Tottenham, you can swing with it, but the one at Frankfurt has really kind of knocked Marseille's stuffing. So they'll be looking for a big bounce back here. Again, as I say, it's the first one at home, so they want to put a marker down for the double header against Sporting, because if this is the game that I think will decide who comes second in this group. And so Marseille really need to get on it and make sure that they're in the hunt after these double headers, because if they don't, they could be all over bar the shouting. Just going back now, with change of pace, we're going to Ajax v Napoli, the other group, the other teams in the Liverpool Rangers group. Ajax, on the back of that 2-1 defeat, shouldn't be too unhappy. They are a young team, developing really well. They did, as we mentioned, put Rangers to the sword before. Napoli, again, flying high. They definitely look like favourites for this group. Definitely, if they can get 2 wins here, then it's a done deal, which, in the longer term might be okay from my perspective as a Liverpool fan, because it means that the game against them will be a bit of a dead rubber for the Napoli team, because they'll already qualified. But I do see this being a slightly closer game. It's going to be a nip and tuck, but I think Napoli are going to come out ahead. I think they've just got a little bit too much about them in Europe. The pace at the front they have is going to terrify a young Ajax team who are still developing, who are still kind of coming to terms, as we've mentioned before on previous shows, how much their team has been decimated by people coming in, bigger clubs, buying some of their star players. So it's going to be an interesting one, but a learning curve for the Ajax team. How do they bounce back from the disappointment, because they felt they probably should have won the game, or at least got a draw at Anfield. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. But I do think that they've got the capabilities, as they proved against Rangers in that first half of their first game. So they shouldn't be too overawed. But Napoli are looking very ominous in this group and probably a shoe-in for the next round. Porto and Leverkusen is the next game I'm going to have a look at. An interesting one. Lost to Atletico, which Atletico are probably going to win this one. But then at the Club Brugge was the real problem for Porto. They really did not see that. They got in effect a hammering 4-0, which nobody saw coming. It's a surprise, because Porto are one of those teams where you can almost guarantee them getting out of the group. They just kind of get stuff done. They get it done. They know how to do it. They know how to win. But they've just kind of seemed a little bit off the pace in UEFA League at this point in time. Maybe this is the chance for them to turn it around. Bayer Leverkusen, probably not the best at the moment. They're kind of not going so well at home in the Bundesliga. They're struggling there, but they did beat Atletico in the last game out. So again, Europe tosses up so many mixes. Nobody's really clear-cut favourites. Nobody's clearly running away with this group yet. Porto really need a win, though. If they don't get anything out of this game, then this could be it. As I say, the double header. If Leverkusen sneak a draw at home and then a win back in Germany, then you got to say Porto are out and done and dusted. So a real big game in this group that keep an eye on to see what happens, because if this could be the last game for the Porto head coach, the way things have turned around here and the way they've not exactly set the world on fire, and they base a lot of their season around getting out of the group stages because it's what they kind of do, and this time it's looking very unlikely. Following on from the Porto Leverkusen game, we're going straight into Club Brugge Atletico, the other games in Group B. As mentioned, Club Brugge are absolutely flying. 4-0 against Porto. It's like following up their first win. They haven't let any goals in. It's I don't think anybody saw them topping the group, but you never can tell with Europe, as I just mentioned. But this will be the biggest, toughest test for them. Atletico, favourites for the group. Again, a team that know how to win, how to hang around, how to stick with it. It's going to be a tough game for the Club Brugge, but the way they've gone off and started flying, you can't rule them out for getting something out of it. If they come out of this maybe with 4 points, this will quite happily make them through this group, which is really going to be their target. Get out of the group and then see where you go into the knockout stages. But the fact that they're 2 from 2, a win and a draw in these next double-header games will suit Club Brugge down to the ground. And maybe it is time for a new team out of Belgium to kind of take the European stage, because it's been quiet for a long time. So all the best to them. It'd be interesting. We want to keep an eye on just for the knockout stages and how they start to fall out. Atletico, as I mentioned before, a Spanish team, gritty, know how to win, know how to hang around in games. So this could be a ding dong. It could be two contrasting styles, I would suggest. As I say, Atletico just kind of more gritty and hanging in there. Bruges might be a bit more free for all. They do have a very, very young guy up front. So, no fear, nothing to lose. Why not go for it? So one of the other biggest games of the game week is going to be Inter Barcelona. Both teams beaten Pilsen. Both teams lost to Bayern. Exactly the same. Everything's looking good. This could be the defining game in this group. At home to Barcelona, you'd think it should be one or the other. It's going to be, you expect them, as I say, double headers. One team to win one game, one team to win the other. But into Barcelona, it just wets the mouth. You've got so many great players on either side coming into this game. A little bit rocky, a little bit of pressure from the press and the fans on both sides. So really looking forward to seeing this one. It's one of those games that you hope lives up to expectation. It could be one of those damp squibs, but hopefully not. With the teams that they're, you've got to hope that this is going to be one of those humdingers. Everyone's going to be looking out for it. As I say, if one of these teams wins both of these games, that's them. That should be them off and running. They've not, whoever is going to finish second to Bayern comes out of these two double headers. So it's a real chance for both teams to lay down a marker and to make sure that they are in the hunt for second place in the group after this double head in two games. I've got to favour Barcelona just because it's Barcelona and you have to. They've got the knowledge, the know-how, the team is there, the structure is there. Yes, they're missing a few of their bigger names and a little bit of a transition, but it's still Barcelona in Europe, and you've got to always lean towards favouring that team. Last game of Tuesday is Frankfurt v Tottenham, and this could be an interesting one. Frankfurt's obviously won the Europa League last term. They've got their first stage victory against Marseille, but they're not great at home in Europe, so they don't tend to do very well. Tottenham doing okay, travelling well, starting to come to the fore under Conte, starting to find their feet, score goals, get it more of a team effort together. I don't think they're going to struggle too much. I imagine they're not worrying too much about the trip to Germany. This should be a double header where Tottenham look to pick up 6 points and really stretch their legs in this group. I'm definitely favouring Spurs over Frankfurt in this game. Moving into Wednesday. Salzburg, Dinamo Zagreb, the Chelsea killers, if you like. This is going to be one of those. It won't be the highest scoring game. It won't be the game that most people watch on Wednesday, but it's two teams who have done okay. They're battling for it and whatever else. So you got to see whoever comes out of this may well be the team that put Chelsea into the Europa League. It's early days, but as I say, Chelsea have not come flying out the blocks in this group. So you've got to put one of these two teams as favourite to come second, and then maybe Chelsea have to go and look at ending up in the Europa League as one of those lucky losers. So a lot of eyes from West London will be watching this first game, see who pans out. Going to probably favour Dinamo Zagreb. That's just surely a gut feel. Got no real reason for that. They just seem to be, they were the ones who did put Chelsea down. They did win. Salzburg were more than happy with just drawing against Chelsea. So you got to favour Zagreb just a little bit, but we'll see how this one pans out and who's going to be chasing Milan to the end of this group. Oh, big game for Celtic this week. Big game for Celtic. Away to Leipzig. Leipzig have not really started very well. Celtic really need a win. They only could get a draw last time out against Shakhtar Donetsk. They've obviously got put to the sword by Real in the first game. It's away in Europe. It's never easy for Celtic to travel. But again, they really need a win. If they don't get anything out of this away trip to Germany, I got to foresee that that's then done in Europe. Unfortunately, it's a one and done type scenario. They're going to be out. They really need to come to the fore. But again, they started well at the weekend. They won in the league. Leipzig have been struggling. Getting a new coach in is going to try and ruffle things up, but then we'll see how it pans out. But I do really feel for Celtic. They really need to get something out of this. If they don't get anything out of the away trip, even at home, is it already too late for them? If it's two losses and a draw is not really good enough at this stage. They really need the 3 points. Chelsea v AC Milan is the next game we're talking about. Graham Potter, second game in Europe. He's had a couple of weeks now in the helm of Chelsea to get in with the players and talk to them. His first came out in Europe and you got a 1-1 draw with Salzburg, as I just mentioned. It's probably the worst start for Chelsea for a long time in Europe. Milan flying high, new coach saying ready to go. This is, the team really are looking forward to getting back to the summit of European football, where they, as personally as a fan, where AC Milan have always been and always belong. That black and red strip is synonymous with European nights for me. Yes, it's been a while, but it's great to see them back at the top table. It's going to be a tough ask for Graham Potter's men to get something out of these two games. They really need it, and after their start in the groups, but they could almost do with maybe having the double header later in the group stage. It's a chance for Potter to show what he's got, but I think it might just be a step too far for them, and I can see Milan making heavy weather of it, but kind of maybe winning both of these and maybe putting Chelsea's opportunities of progressing out of the group to bed. So, Real Madrid at Shakhtar. These teams seem to meet quite a lot in the group stages, and everybody automatically assumes Real Madrid are going to win this. But historically, Shakhtar have done okay. They've managed to beat them. I think it was 2 years ago. They beat them both home and away in the group stage. Missing Benzema, you've got doing okay. I think the Valverde up front has managed to fill that gap quite well. But any team, even Real Madrid, will miss somebody like Benzema up front. He's a proven goal scorer, and they may need him against Shakhtar. Shakhtar are one of those teams that you're not really sure what way they're going to come out. I think they do like to bring in the Brazilians. They do have quite a fair bit of talent in their ranks. So a tough game, this one. I'm going to favour Real over Shakhtar over the two legs, but I think this will be an interesting one, a real test. I know Real European champions, they should be in it, but you've got to think that Shakhtar have done well so far and are in the mix, so they've got a lot of stuff to fight for. Final game, Man City Copenhagen. Erling Haaland's just a beast. It's just how many goals he's going to score against Copenhagen. I feel sorry for them because he's setting the world alight at Man City. He's scoring goals for fun, and he's probably going to continue that in this group game as well. So just stand by for possibly more fireworks after the 6-3 drubbing in the Manchester derby at the weekend. They are flying high, and I just feel really bad for Copenhagen's defence. I think they're going to have real struggles to kind of keep him down. So that's my quick brief roundup for most of the games of this week. Come back next week and see how I got on. Before we go, guys, just please make sure you do subscribe to all the YouTube channels on Let's Talk Sport. I know I'm filling in for Dan, and it's been a bit of a one-man show today. Best of luck, Dan. I hope you're feeling better, but please do subscribe, hit all the buttons, smash all the buttons. We need all your help you can get. Thanks very much.